Look out, guys. It looks like Bjergsen is leaving TSM. There's so many North American rumors. There's a bunch more European rumors. There's so much to get into. We had a banger semifinal at Worlds. Like, this weekend was actually awesome. What else? We got finals previews coming up, and JNT and I have made another prop sheet. Those of you that have been watching for a while will remember that we've done a prop sheet before. I think we did better this time around. I think last time we made a few mistakes doing it our first time. We will get into that at the very end of the show. JNT, let's get into the Bjergsen stuff, man. He's leaving TSM. You and I were both confident, like really confident, that he's staying with North America, or excuse me, staying with TSM. But it looks like he's just staying with North America. And I guess I may as well say this is episode 64 of the Clown Fiesta podcast. JNT, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got like both halves of my take wrong, where I was 100% confident that he was going to stay with TSM, and if he wasn't going to, he was going to go back to an EU team. But I mean, for the most part, it looks like he's going to stay in North America, just not on TSM. And it was just kind of really out of the blue that video came out on Twitter from TSM of Part and Reggie, basically just saying that Bjergsen expressed his interest to start again as a player, not as a coach. I think they said around September 1st, they allowed him to speak with a bunch of other teams in the rest of the league, which is, I guess, good guy TSM because they weren't at Worlds
Yeah.
anyway. So what the hell are they doing? So, and basically Bjergsen came back to them and said, like, hey, like, I'm going to decline the offer that you made to me, and I'm going to go elsewhere. And it feels like it's going to feel so weird to see Bjergsen not on TSM because that guy is
It,
TSM. He's the whole brand.
yeah. Yeah, it really will feel weird, but we also said the same thing about him retiring. And that was kind of weird as well. Like an LCS without Bjergsen is kind of weird, but I mean, we kind of got used to it. I think maybe I'm not speaking for everyone. I got used to it, I guess. I didn't expect to get used to it, but I did. And so maybe we can expect to get used to Bjergsen being on TL or C9, which seem to be the front runners right now. The other thing that I wanted to mention was, even though I was right there with you, I thought if he's staying in North America, he's staying with TSM, because duh. But once we've heard the reasons as to why he might be leaving, I guess nothing is for sure yet. I mean, he is leaving, but which team he's going to is not for sure. But as to why he's going to a team is, I guess he wants to play with a specific player, is what Reggie came
In
out and said.
quotations, a specific player. Like,
Yeah. And immediately everyone hopped to Core JJ, which, I mean, come on. Why would you not want to play with Core JJ, right? Is there any other North American player that you think Bjergsen would be like, I want to play with this guy?
yeah, I mean, Core JJ has been the best player in the LCS over the last 2 years. Yeah, he had not the greatest sort of end to, 2020 in terms of TL's Worlds performances and TL's performances in summer playoffs, and even in spring playoffs, that matter. Like, TL was a roster that was built to win the LCS by bringing in Alfari and having a roster like Santorin, Core JJ, Jensen, and Tactical. And I think people just view Core JJ as the best player individually in the LCS. I think Alfari was put up there a little bit towards the beginning of the spring split, because he was just absolutely smashing people. But I mean, the only other players that you could even put on like the same pedestal, and it's not even close to that much, like domestically, I think would only be Blabber. Like, he has been playing very, very well for the most part over the course of the last 2 years, but you know, Blabber does seem to crack under the pressure a little bit,
Yeah,
whereas
I
Core
wouldn't
JJ
say
is
this
just
year.
always good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this year. So for me, I don't think he would at all really want to play with Blabber, just because I think you usually if you're playing with Blabber, I mean, we've seen him have success when he's being played around. I don't know. I mean, Bjergsen can be flexible. There's that, but I just don't think that it's Blabber that he wants to play with. I do think there's probably TSM fans going, well, why don't you want to play with Spica? He's an MVP. And I think the reason would have to be that I think he probably believes that Core JJ has a bigger gap in support than Spica does to the next best jungler, which could be Santorin. That would have to be my thought process, is that, look, I would like to play with Spica, sure, but Santorin's really good too. And if it's not Core JJ, there's no other support that I think he would have a lot of confidence in being able to play with. Out of the open possibilities, because I do not think Vulcan had that great of a year in comparison to his year last year. I think Vulcan has definitely looked worse this year. So I don't think Bjergsen would be too excited about playing with Vulcan.
Yeah, and I
Any
mean,
thoughts on that?
well, like we've just seen how dominant Core JJ has been in the LCS. Like, he basically created this whole topside support meta, which we saw a ton of in the summer playoffs. Obviously, that has now become a very meta thing that we are seeing at the World Championship. But CoreJJ was doing this very, very early on, and we sort of saw that battle in that initial C9 versus TL series in the summer playoffs, where Vulcan and CoreJJ were literally just going topside for the entirety of the series. I mean, like they'd basically get level 3, get level 4, and then just go topside for the rest of the game. And CoreJJ is always one who seems to be ahead of the meta in terms of what's strong. His champion pool is always so wide. I mean, we've talked about how good his pocket picks are, like his Blitzcrank, his Thresh, and just how solid he is on basically every single meta support, whether it's Leona, whether it's Rakan, I don't know, whether it's Alistar, whether it's Rel. His Rel is insane, although that champion isn't as popular anymore. But, you know, he's just the best player available. If he's the
He's
best
also a
player
world
available.
champion.
Yeah.
He's a world champion. You can't forget that. Like, that is something that is going to matter. Now, I know there are world champions that are no longer world champion caliber, like Impact, for example. Although
CoreJJ is.
Impact is a good player, but he's no longer a world's uh uh champion skill level. What am I trying to say? You get what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Whereas CoreJJ, I think people would still say is good enough to win a world championship. And yes, I know people are going. They're probably slapping their foreheads right now, going, "North America win a championship." We all know it's unlikely, but that's why you play. That's what you play for that. That's what you put your career towards, especially if you're someone like Bjergsen. Do you think Bjergsen would come back if he was just coming back to a regular TSM? Like a skill level TSM like we saw this year that was around third or fourth, because I'll say third or fourth just because they were really close to Cloud9. They went 5 games or whatever. Do you
Mhm.
think Bjergsen would want to come back? I think Bjergsen wants to come back only if he's getting a really good team to play with.
I mean, I think that's pretty much exactly what we saw with Doublelift this past year. You know, he saw that TSM, you know, there was going to be a real possibility that TSM wasn't going to get those blue chip free agents. Like, it was uncertain if they were going to get Sword Art. They really had no clue what they were doing in the top lane after releasing Broken Blade. And I mean, a lot of us were scratching our heads when we found out the news that TSM was getting rid of Broken Blade in favor of bringing in somebody else, because you could argue that Broken Blade was one of their best players down the stretch in, you know, season 10 with their very like topside focused meta. And, you know, Bjergsen could be thinking the same thing, like, hey, if TSM can't put together a roster that's worthy of my skill level and worthy of, you know, my time, like, I'm going to go elsewhere. And, you know, it's definitely on him. His contract was up. He was a free agent. You know, TSM reportedly made him like a really lucrative offer. I mean, that's what they said in the video. I think they said competitive, not lucrative, but so whatever that means. And he just chose to go elsewhere. Like, he has more faith in the TL money, the C9 international success maybe, or the somewhere else. I don't know. Those, it feels like
Do
those
you
are the only
think
two options really.
Do you think anything? I don't really think there's a lot of anything for this to stand on, but I'll bring it up anyways. Do you think it's possible that he saw Europe perform not so well this Worlds and thinks that his chances in Europe aren't much better than in North America? So why not stay in the area that he's already called LA his home, right? Like, he's been in North America for a long time now. Maybe he feels like going back to Europe isn't home anymore. I don't know. And maybe he feels like I may as well make bank in a region that didn't perform much worse than Europe. I don't know.
I would say, considering we did see, like, I guess part of the reason originally why I was so confident that Bjergsen was going to stay with TSM is before he signed that huge deal. I think it was in the end of season 8, or maybe it was the beginning of season 8. That gave him partial ownership in TSM. Like, I think it was at the end of season 8. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, there was also like big rumors that Bjergsen was going to go to Fnatic or something, or Bjergsen was going to go to 100T. And so, like, when the EU door kind of shut there, it made me think that, like, okay, yeah, he's prioritizing North America. So I don't think I necessarily would say that EU's lesser performance at Worlds had anything to do with his decision to stay in NA. I mean, maybe it did. Like, maybe he's like, hey, like, we competed with these guys. Like, C9 did go 1-1 against Mad Lions at MSI. C9 went 2-1 against Rogue at Worlds. And, you know, maybe he does see even footing between the two regions. And I think the majority of people after this World Championship would say, you know, the gap between NA and EU actually closed in NA's favor a little bit. But you know, I think being the competitor that Bjergsen is, I would think he is just trying to go for the best available like spot and team. And
Yeah.
if you are a Team Liquid and you can provide great players like Santorin, one who's already played with, for JJ, I think we've we basically just discussed now. He's the best player in the league. Um, who knows what happens at ADC, whether it's the Jensen thing or whether they bring in somebody else, and then they can still import top lane. There's a bunch of rumors as to who they can bring in there.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of uncertainty, but let's just throw out the information that we've heard. Obviously, there's nothing that is concrete or anything like that. But for those that are unaware, there was rumors that Jensen would role swap to ADC and play, and they would all play on TL. And then another thing that I believe Travis said is that he heard maybe Whippo might go to TL. Although I've heard back and forth things on that. Uh, it's hard to remember because like there's so much like, oh, this might happen, and then like the
Yeah.
next day you hear it might not happen. So just take everything that we're saying here with a grain of salt, guys, because remembering when I heard it, like what the most recent information is, I can't keep up, man. There is just way too much. But what one event or at some point the potential lineup was Whippo, Santorin, Bjergsen, Jensen, Core JJ for Team Liquid. As of tonight on Hotline League, Travis, I still think he has TL as the front runner, but I think he said what did he say? I think I wrote it down. I don't know, somewhere like he doesn't think C9 is out of it. I lost the quote. I got too much shit in my notes here, but anyways, I guess C9 is not out of it yet, so that is still a possibility. And I guess or Travis was floating the idea of Han Sama possibly going to C9. And then there's also the idea that Danny might be for sale. Like there's still so much on the table. And then I don't know if Travis was trolling, but he also asked one of the callers on Hotline, what do you think about Mickey? And it was, I think it was call for C9, if I remember right. So, I mean, there's just too much. There's still so much up in the air. And I mean, I think he's probably going to TL, but I guess what I'm saying is it's not a done deal.
Yeah. I guess the other stuff to talk about with TSM is that apparently Sword Art is leaving as well, 1 year into his big $6 million deal that was basically memed throughout the entirety of the year because of Sword Art's performance. Um, and I think that was kind of expected, regardless of what was going to happen with Bjergsen, based on the results you were getting for the amount of money that you were paying for him. But I mean, the big thing that came out of all of this that TSM did say is that they're basically building the entire roster around Huni and Spica. Those are the two players that they are going to retain, and that
Yeah.
they're kind of putting more of a focus to developing younger players rather than getting veterans or going for some big super team, quote unquote.
Yeah, and I think that's because they realize if we can't keep Bjergsen, well, we can't make our super team, and so let's keep some of the guys that we have that are good players. They're not top tier players, but they're good. Obviously, you could say Spica's top tier, but I'm talking mostly about Huni, who is a good player, not a top tier player. And you could still have a competitive season, and the money that you would save on Sword Art, maybe you could put towards your academy system or something like that. You could actually look more towards development. Is the idea. And did you say the quote of what Reggie and Parth said in their video? I have that here if you didn't say it already.
Well, it was like developing younger talent or something like that. I don't know
Yeah,
if that was a direct quote, but I just
I have the direct quote, so I'm just going to share it just because I have it here. So Reggie in the video that they released, you guys can go check it out on Twitter. But for the sake of just our conversation here, he said we intend to focus on up and coming players and to build our team culture around these rising stars. And then Parth said to clarify, this does not mean TSM will be an all rookie development roster, which is basically echoing what you just said a moment ago. But I just wanted to give the exact quote of what they announced to the TSM fans.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then apparently, not haven't heard much about where PoE is going, but it sounds like he won't be with TSM, is what people are saying. That's another one that I heard on Travis's stream a few days ago. So I guess there's still a lot of options available, or a lot of uncertainty even with TSM. Even though we know a couple of players, who the hell knows what's going on there?
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a shakeup, it seems, for TSM.
My guess is fans will slow down a little bit on the TSM Reckless thing. I don't know how much legs it had in the first place.
Yeah,
But how do you pull Reckless over when you say we have Spica? Like, I'm sure my camera's out of focus. I'm sure you're happy with Spica because he's an MVP, but I'm sure Reckless, you'll probably need more to convince Reckless to come across the pond than just Spica, right? You need to see more in other lanes, and TSM losing Bjergsen can't help, I would
yeah,
imagine.
and I mean, like considering the language of the quote you basically just said, it doesn't seem like that's the direction they're going.
Right, right. So anyways, it's very weird because we've never seen this side of things from TSM. Normally it's like we want to do well at Worlds, and that's kind of been their motto. And then now they're like not really making Worlds, and you're losing your franchise player. It is a little bit rough for TSM, but I don't know. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think they have a chance in the future of bouncing back. They're still TSM. They have money, and even if they take 1 year off of really going for it, I don't think this is like a permanent thing. I saw some takes posted in the Hotline League Discord tonight saying that they're
They're
going
the
to
new
become the new
CLG. Yeah,
CLG.
like
I don't think so. There's no way. I mean, it would be amazing, and feel free to clip this and hang on to forever. Because wouldn't that be something if TSM? Could you imagine Reggie? He's got his team pulling up in the white van that CLG pulled themselves out of. Instead, like scrap the Escalade, and they just come out of this fucking, I don't know, this white utility van. Oh my god, that'll be the day, man.
I
I don't think we'll
mean,
ever see that from TSM.
I guess not to like. I mean, like if you look at the trajectory of what happened to CLG, like they went from a team who was like making worlds, performing well in playoffs, like then they stopped making worlds, and then they were like kind of like fourth, fifth place, and then they started to drop off. So if TSM drops
Sure,
off this year, maybe they're the new CLG, dude. The
but
trajectory is very CLG like at the moment.
yeah, the only thing is that TSM F money is like you're good to go spend for a lot of
Well,
years. Now,
CLG had
spending
that
doesn't.
Madison Square Garden money.
Well, yeah, but you don't even know if CL or if Madison Square Garden is really as serious as TSM is as actually putting um what's
I'm
the
just
word
memeing a bit here, but yeah.
resources into like your coaching staff and your infrastructure and all that. Like there's been all the players that have played for CLG have all said just how dog shit it is. And I know you're memeing, but just so people know, we don't actually think that's going to happen. Or at least I don't. I can say that for you, right, JNT?
Yeah,
Please,
there's
please
like
tell
a
me you don't think
1% chance.
that.
They just have too much money to fail. It's kind of like I don't know.
You're hanging on though. You're
Yeah.
hoping.
I mean, it'd be hilarious for sure.
Anyway, um, yeah. So strange things for TSM. I don't know if is there anything else. Any other? Let's get into some other NA stuff. Is there anything
Mhm.
else you had to say on it?
No, TSM is gonna look a lot different next year. That's the main thing.
Yeah, we think. We think. Who the hell
Yeah,
knows?
we assume.
All right, let's get into the other NA rumors.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we kind of already were
That's your
talking.
cue.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess when we kind of already talked about the Jensen thing with him potentially role swapping to ADC. Should
Mhm.
Bjergsen go to TL? But I think you mentioned that you heard on Travis's stream that that isn't exactly going as planned.
Yeah, he
Whatever that
said that.
means.
The weird thing is that he said that he heard the Jensen ADC thing hasn't been working out so far, or something along. Do I have a quote on that one? Sorry, guys, my notes are fucking everywhere. Um, uh, I don't know, man. I can't find it. But anyways, it sounds like the Jensen. But the thing is, and you mentioned this to me as soon as I told you this. You went, "What do you mean? They just started like a week ago saying that Jensen might be 80 carry." And that's the way I look at it. What like we're a week in. How can we say it's failing already? It's not going to start off well. He's a mid laner. Like I don't
It's
know.
only failing until you're losing games in the league.
Oh, okay. Here's the quote. He said, "Perhaps the Jensen ADC thing isn't going well." That's pretty vague.
Perhaps.
Yeah, that's pretty vague.
What does that mean?
Um, yeah. I don't think anyone in TL is like, oh no, Jensen and Core JJ played some solo queue and things didn't work out. It's all doomed. Bjergsen's leaving now. Maybe, I guess. I just don't see that being the case. I think TL is probably still the front runner, but who knows? Who the hell knows? Travis seems to think C9's still in the running. It sounds like EG is no longer in the running. But anyways, there's that.
Yeah,
And
it
then
feels like EG are always in the running until they're not in the running. It's like, oh, EG was like in the running for PERKZ, or oh, EG was in the running for this. It's like, well, nope.
It seems like EG comes in saying we're gonna spend, we're gonna do it, and then they just get outspent, and they're like, damn.
Yeah, and
And
then
the
they
thing
get
is, it's
like the
really hard for
scraps.
them. Yeah, it's hard for them to compete in the spending world because even if you have the funds to match C9 TSM TL,
You don't have
if
the
you
brand
match
and
it,
the.
yeah, if you match it, they're still gonna like you need to overmatch for them to come your way because people are just gonna go to the teams that have had success in the past. So I do feel for EG a little bit there. I give them credit for trying. It's a really tough situation, and it sounds like another thing that was mentioned on Hotline League tonight is that it's possible Danny's on the table to be bought out. Which I mean, there's always a price, right? Um, it's a little bit sad because EG's like this team that's supposed to develop players and whatnot, but I'm sure they're getting offered a fat check for Danny. You would have to imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, based off of what we've kind of heard, I mean, with regards to the TSM stuff, like Danny is a player that sort of fits that profile of a young player who has the future to be a star in the league. And
Yeah.
it's just like that's the perfect match right there with what TSM is just saying and the player that Danny is right now. Like that could be a fit. If Cloud9 wants to go, import elsewhere and free up an import slot and get a native ADC, that could also work for C9. And who knows? Maybe TL's not really happy with tactical and they want to just get a better sort of NA
Yeah, well,
ADC.
what I wonder is if Jensen isn't good enough for the ADC and maybe they go Danny, then maybe Jensen's like, hey, what the hell? Bjergsen was supposed to come over to TL and I was supposed to be the AD, and now I'm out of a job. And then you got to wonder, well, is Jensen gonna go back to Cloud9? Yeah, there's still a lot of possibilities up in the air. One of the other things, did I mention the Hansama thing yet? Because I got a few other things to mention here. Did I mention the Hansama? If I
Said it a
didn't,
little bit.
if I didn't, I guess Travis is teasing. He said Hansama, I feel like, is a very likely option for C9. That's where I would be betting chips right now. So it doesn't sound like he's 100%, but if he were to bet, he would bet on Hansama going to C9. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So there's that. And then what else? Oh, this was another weird thing. Just the last thing on TSM here. I guess Lena took all of her TSM stuff out of her Twitter bio and whatnot. So maybe they're losing Lena too, which is like I don't know if that's a big deal whatsoever, honestly, but I just think it is noteworthy.
Hmm.
You know.
Reggie
And
got
then the last,
Reggie got pissed,
yeah,
getting cucked.
yeah, you couldn't hold on to the well, I don't know, whatever. And the last thing is FlyQuest. I actually think this is kind of a low key, like, I think this is underrated. Got my FlyQuest jersey on for this. I hope that it's a good signing.
For
I'm
this
not going
one
to pretend
specific instance.
I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about Tukui. I don't.
Is that his name? Is that
But
how you say it?
well, I think so.
Oh, I wasn't sure. I was kind of hoping that you might say the name so I didn't butcher it.
I think it's Tukui well, okay.
It
People
sounds
might
good
say
to me.
people might say Tukui. Um but I mean, it's from the LFL, which is the French league. I'm guessing it's probably pronounced Tukui. And if he's an MVP for the LFL, I feel like that has to be a really good signing. So I'm really excited for this for TL, or excuse me, for FlyQuest, because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really think Palafox look too good, and I think that bringing in what is obviously a young good talent has to be good.
Mhm.
So I think that this is low key. Like, I'm kind of impressed with FlyQuest. How could nobody else get the LFL MVP? Like, there's a lot of good players that come out of that league.
Yeah, I think the
So I was
LFL is kind of widely regarded as the best regional league out of all the EU regional leagues and ones whose
Yeah.
top teams go to EU Masters. We've seen a ton of LFL teams win EU Masters, whether it was like Karamine Corp back in the day where you had Adam, who was like the big star of
Mhm.
that show, went on to Fnatic, and then this Tukui guy. He
Would you say
won.
the league is the best in the West?
No.
I mean,
Um.
it might be for developing
Yeah.
for
Well,
developing talent. It
it's
actually
like
might be.
yeah, it's like the mini best league. So he was LFL MVP in the spring split this year, not the summer
Gotcha.
split. His team
Okay.
finished in 7th,
Hmm.
which I mean, like that doesn't really tell you a whole lot because
How many teams are in that league?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
They went 7-11, if that says anything.
He got MVP on a seventh place team. I'm trying to think if that's a
No, no,
good thing or a
this
bad
was
thing.
summer split just recently.
Oh,
They
okay.
finished.
Gotcha.
In spring they finished 4th.
Okay.
So
Anyways, I thought that was really interesting. You would think that the LFL talent would go right to the LEC as it has.
there's 10
Well,
teams.
yeah. Anyways, so I was really surprised by that, and I think it's probably a good sign for FlyQuest. I think it's something to be excited about because they produce a lot of good talent that league. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
oh, I was just gonna say like with the rest
no,
of
go ahead.
FlyQuest, we probably can assume that Jose Dioto's sticking around. So that would be the two.
I don't think we can assume anything anymore, man. Not with Bjergsen leaving TSM. I'm done with assumptions. I don't got a clue, and I'm just gonna wait.
Well, I'm gonna assume, And
Okay.
I mean, that basically fills up the FlyQuest import slots. So whether or not they choose to stick with Kumo in the top lane or Johnson, or I don't even remember who the other ADC was, Tomo? It was
Tomo.
Tomo.
I think it was Tomo.
And then Diamond and Dreams. I mean, Dreams is an import, so that doesn't really work out anymore. So he's kind of
Yeah.
pushed out the mix. Should they?
Well, and Diamond gave one of those, oh, I'm allowed to explore
Yeah,
options for
yeah.
20.
Okay, he's gone. Never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, yeah. those those don't have a good history of having people stick around.
Yeah,
I would like to know what the percentage of players that put that out actually end up staying on the team
it's
that they're allowed to.
95 plus at least.
Probably, yeah, probably.
Mhm.
Um, but anyways, I think that's it for all the North America stuff, right?
Yeah, we got a
Um,
lot of
so,
EU stuff.
but before we move on to the EU stuff, though, I just want to ask: do you have any other? Because I want to ask. We heard a lot of stuff about TSM and TL, and we heard some things about C9, of course. I wanted to ask you, as the C9 guy, is there anyone that you think is being left out that you would like C9 to go after?
Well, I mean, considering Travis saying that the Jensen ADC thing isn't going well, or perhaps isn't going well, whatever the hell that means,
Yeah, I
and
know, right?
Bjergsen, doesn't go to TL, or even if he does go to TL, I mean, there's a lot of mid laners that C9 could go after, because we're gonna get to it in a little bit, but it looks like PERKZ is going back to EU. But this basically frees up an import slot for C9 to import mid if they want to, or go for a resident NA player in mid lane, and then maybe go import ADC, whether it is Hansama or somebody like that. But in terms of the import mids that I think would be good fits for C9 potentially, I think the first one is Niski. I think it's
Hmm.
we haven't really heard anything from like Fnatic in terms of what's going on with the rest of their roster other than Razork. Um, but if Niski's not there, I would assume that a lot of the C9 players that are on that team would like to play with Niski again. It feels like the only reason that Niski got kicked from C9 even in the first place was because they saw the potential for
PERKZ.
more with PERKZ. And yes, Niski did have a pretty bad end to 2020 towards the end of the regular season and in the playoffs. I think him and Blabber were their two worst players when they kind of had that massive collapse. Um, but at the same time, I think the other guy that I want to point out too is like a really underrated player in my opinion is Vitio from Misfits. I think that guy's insane. I think he was one of the main reasons. Him and Razork, I think, were two of Misfits' strongest players down the stretch, kind of leading them to almost a top 4 finish. So I think if C9 did want to import and maybe go younger and sort of plan for the future rather than maybe picking up a older veteran or I guess a more tenured player, he would be one guy that I would look at.
Yeah. Um, I gave this take to you last week, I think. But I'm gonna say it now, and it sounds less five head because we've learned that it's possible C9 might be getting rid of Vulcan. It sounds like that's possible. It sounds like C9 might be getting rid of a lot of people. But what my take was, and I'm glad I said it to you before this stuff came out, was I think Fudge is the only player that they're gonna keep. Or look to keep, I should say, because you never know what is actually available. Maybe you can't find anyone that's better than Blabber, or you only have so many import slots, right? So it's easy to say, oh, just get better everything, you know. But I actually do think that C9 is looking to keep Fudge only. That would be my thought, because I actually don't think any of the C9 players played all that great this year. I think that they all um, were noticeably worse than the year prior, and I think that's usually a bad trend if they're heading in the wrong direction. I think Blabber looked definitely worse than last year, very inconsistent. You guys know my opinion on PERKZ already, and we know PERKZ is gone, or likely to be gone. Sven got benched. We still don't know what's going on with that, and Sven was easy pickings very often since pretty much MSI, and I think Vulcan has looked not even close to as impactful as he was last year. Um, so I think that pretty much that's my take, is that I think C9 is getting rid of 4 players and going to look to replace them. Now, what's available is up in the air, right? But anyways, I that's what I think Cloud9 is going to do.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing with replacing players on specifically top teams in the league, like when you are a Team Liquid, when you are a TSM, when you are a C9, when you are a 100 Thieves, like, sure, replacing a player might be necessary due to poor performance, but at the same time, you need to find a player of equal or better skill. And I
Right.
100% agree. I think Fudge has got that spot locked up. But in my opinion, unless you're going to really shake things up in terms of where exactly you're going to be utilizing your imports, I see no reason to get rid of Blabber. I think, he does have the highest ceiling of maybe any player in the league. Like we can see when this guy's on form, he's the MVP, looks really, really good. The question
Yeah.
is, can he stay at that level? And
The
whether
thing is,
that's
sorry, go ahead.
well,
Finish your thought.
whether that's like roster stability, a better like fit for mid lane, because we really saw how well Niski and Blabber worked together. Like that was a combo that was like
I
really, really
agree.
insane. And like Niski was, the Blabber enabler when mid lane meta was all about pushing and roaming, where you had champions like Rumble mid. He was like heavy Twisted Fate meta as well. So whether it's finding the enabler for Blabber or getting him a little bit more under control, which I think we saw towards the end of Summer Split, because let's be honest, at the beginning of Summer Split and at MSI, Blabber was all over the place. But I did think Blabber got a little bit better, kind of as the season went on. Ultimately, never got back to that level that he was at pre MSI and sort of when he was MVP, and then when he was also
Hmm.
MVP in Spring Season 10. But I do think that bot lane we could see some changes, especially if we do see the sort of imports switch around, where maybe instead of importing ADC, they go native with like a Danny or a tactical, maybe, who knows. Or mid lane, if they get Bjergsen, like Bjergsen's a resident, so that frees up another import slot for you. Maybe you want to go after an EU support, a Korean support, or something like that.
Well, and I think Santorin is a free agent, so it's possible that if C9 is still after Bjergsen, that they still go after Santorin as well.
Maybe.
That's possible. The one thing that I wanted to mention is that you mentioned Blabber at his ceiling is one of the best, if not the best, North American player. I can agree with that. We've seen him be an MVP. We know that he can be really good. But I'm getting a little bit tired of the ceiling talk because we've talked about Cloud9's ceiling all freaking year long. We haven't seen much ceiling. You know what I'm saying? So I think the ceiling talk, while it may be true, I think it's optimistic to expect or hope for the ceiling. So that's I'm not. You could say anyone at their ceiling. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not too big on the ceiling talk. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's just about finding the right combination of players, and that's the main thing. Is C9
Yeah.
clearly have not been like the front runners per se, and a lot of these players with regards to free agency, and honestly never really have been. They're usually the ones that are selling off their players to bring in a younger type player, and the only time that we really saw them very aggressive in the free agency period was when the whole perks being available was going down. So I do think unless Cloud9 is getting Bjergsen, we're probably going to see a much more slower and thoughtful free agency period from then. Whether they want to go with kind of like a younger player, maybe like a VTO, maybe like a I don't know, a younger player, maybe a more veteran style in Niski who they think will work better with the team, or if they do go for these big guys like a Hans Sommer or somebody like that.
Yeah, and predicting what C9 does is impossible. Year after
Yeah.
year, they always surprise us one way or another. So yeah, I can't even pretend to guess what the hell is going to go on for C9. But we know that their offseason is going to be interesting because it always is. So that's pretty sweet. Okay, now let's get into the European stuff
Hmm.
because there's a lot. Usually, it's like Europe acts first, and then all the really good players that don't have a really good team are the players that might be coming over to North America.
Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead and start with the stuff.
Yeah. Well, up first we have this, and I've slowly realized this really has no relation to any of what we're talking about, but it's kind of interesting.
Fair.
Forgiven, yes, Forgiven. If people remember who that is, I don't
You heard
remember.
that right.
Was the last time he played season 10 on Schalke, and then he got benched,
No, I
or was
think it
that
was
season
before
11?
season 10.
I think it was season 10,
Was
dude.
it? Really? I thought it was. Anyways, it feels like forever.
Yeah.
I thought it was like season 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
ask me. I don't know. So.
apparently he's looking to play pro again, and he's going to join like a regional league team in the Spanish league. So that's
Mhm.
kind of interesting. Although,
Let's get all the other more boring ones out of the way.
yeah. Other boring ones. I'm gonna be honest. There's a couple names on here that I really don't know who the hell they are. So Certus. He's gonna play for SK next year as the mid laner. Previously played for Schalke's uh ERL team and Misfits Premier, the other ERL team. So SK kind of seems like they're going young with their mid laner there.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Other ones, Neon, former Schalke ADC, is going to be the new ADC for Misfits. That would also leave Kabe without a spot for the time being.
Right.
Um, what else? What else to see here? That's most of the boring stuff.
Those are the boring ones.
Yeah.
The thing is, I say boring, but like, there's still a chance that these players we've never heard of can be really good, right? It's
Yeah.
just you can't count on that, and because we know nothing about them, that's why they're boring. It's not because they're bad; it's because we just don't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, Neon's a good
Let's
player. We know a lot about Neon. He's been on Schalke
Yeah,
for pretty much a year and a
Yeah.
half now. He was the guy
Yeah,
who replaced
he was a
Forgiven.
yeah. Oh, was he? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, let's do some of the more interesting ones, the players that we do know.
Yeah, so
Go.
I kind of alluded to it a bit earlier. Razork, Misfits jungler, is expected to play for Fnatic, replacing Bwipo,
Mhm.
who is also going to be a free agent. And we also did say there was a small rumor going around that TL was maybe going to get Bwipo top lane. But I mean, Razork to Fnatic is, in my opinion, like a really huge signing for Fnatic. Whether or not they keep the same roster, minus Bwipo adding in Razork, I think that could be a very great roster. There's still a lot of questions up in the air. What's going to go on with Niski and what's going to go on with the ADC position, because we do know that Hylissang is locked into a new deal. I think we mentioned that a couple weeks ago, and presumably Adam is going to be sticking around because he's this very young player who does have a lot of potential, so it'd be pretty
Yep.
surprising to see them move off of him. And we saw a lot of lows from Adam at Worlds, but we also saw some highs where even from behind he was going for some very aggressive plays and trades.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's true.
And then the whole upset thing, we got to kind of see how that pans out and whether or not Reckless is playing
Yeah.
any part in this.
We still don't know. Yeah, we still don't know what happened with Upset, and we still don't know where Reckless is going. And we know Reckless has been with Fnatic a couple of times, and for a long time he's played for Fnatic, so that's still possible, and that stuff is still up in the air as well.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be
Um,
surprising at all to see Fnatic go get Reckless again after they
yeah,
let him go in Season 5 when he went to Elements, which was like the EU super team at the time, failed there, went back to Fnatic, and then, still just had like another great 5 years with Fnatic. So it would not surprise me at all to see them unfortunately ditch Upset for Reckless if whatever is going on with Upset can potentially affect what is going to go on in the future. And just knowing how well Reckless plays with Hylissang, because like we've talked about this before, like Reckless and Hylissang were the best bottom at Worlds at 2020.
yeah.
So it would, like, to see them back together would be a huge confidence boost, I think, for Fnatic fans.
Well, and the weird thing is that Hylissang and Upset were also great as
Yeah,
well.
they
It's
were
like
great. They were in
if
my opinion the best spot in the league at the end of the year this year.
Yeah, and it's like if you do have those two options, you have very good bot lane options. So
Mhm.
that's good for Fnatic. The rest of it is up in the air because we still don't know exactly what happened with Bwipo, but we know he wants to leave. The other thing that I want to make clear as well is that we have no information about being mad with Fnatic or anything like that. There's no, as far as we know, it's just from what he said on Twitter that there was some family issues. So we're not saying that there's anything going on there. It's just it's possible. We don't know what actually went down. He just said it was family issues. So who knows? Because I mean, if there are significant family issues, maybe he still can't play coming in January. We don't know, right? Just worth mentioning.
Alrighty, and
What
next up,
else?
some more G2 stuff because it feels like there's a new G2 thing every week. Apparently they've chosen, quote unquote, Targamas as their new support, and they were reportedly holding support tryouts, which is honestly pretty surprising to me because it felt like tryouts kind of like became a thing of the past once like
Yeah.
season 8-9 rolled around. Like you kind of just got best player available. Like tryouts were like a big thing back in the day, where you would see all these teams like they might be boot camping in Korea or boot camping somewhere, and they would bring in multiple players to try out for a position. And like the main one that sticks out to my mind for whatever reason is like back in season 6 when TSM was looking for a new support before they got Biofrost, and they had like Hylissang try out for their team. They had Biofrost. They had like a couple Korean supports try out. I don't know why that like sticks out in my brain, but it just feels like that doesn't happen anymore. And to just randomly hear that like G2 was trying out supports, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Let me connect the dots, even though I have no basis for this whatsoever. Okay, they're all in Iceland, right? Or Europe, I suppose. G2 is scrimming TL with Jensen 80 carry. I don't know how to say his name, is popping off, destroying Jensen, giving him the starting spot, and making TL doubt whether they want to keep Jensen. It's all coming together.
And then so for people who don't know who Targamas is, he's the support on Karmine Corp, who are they're thought to be the best team in the LFL. Once we've already said, but looked at as the strongest European regional league team. Although they didn't win the LFL in summer split, Misfits Premier actually won it. So they weren't actually at EU Masters. But he's been on a ton of the top teams in the regional league scene, so it's no surprise at all to me that he's finally getting his call up to the LEC.
Yeah, it's interesting to have a debut on G2.
That's
That
true.
because G2 has option as being G2. I think that says something about a player if G2 wants to go for you as a rookie rather than any of the other options that they had on the table.
Yeah, and
They
I
could have
mean,
they could have kept Mickey, and they went like Mickey's a good support, and they're like, nah, we're going with this
yeah,
guy.
and I
So
mean, if we float back to a few of the other like rumors that were swirling around a couple weeks ago, like Carzzy was in the mix. That doesn't really seem to be the plan anymore. And then Mad Lions Flackid, the Mad Lions regional league team ADC, like maybe he's the guy now for G2. Maybe they go, young guns in the bot lane with the Grandpa Yankos and Caps with
yeah, it's
some new
possible.
top. I don't know, but Broken
It is
Blade.
possible.
I want
Yeah.
Broken Blade to be on G2. I like that guy.
Yeah, haven't heard much about Broken Blade in a
Well,
while. That was something we heard a
one of
while
the
ago.
that was one of the first rumors. It felt like came out.
Yeah, that was like
Was
before Worlds.
yeah, it
I
was.
think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while. Haven't heard that one in a while. Wonder what's going on there. What else? What else? What else? What else? JT.
Next up, the newest team in the LEC, Team BDS, who's replacing Schalke and acquired their LEC slot. We already know that they are going to have Grabs head coach the team, but they also picked up Schalke players Limit and Nuclearent, mid laner and support. And those are going to be, they're kind of two key pieces to kind of build their roster around.
Yeah, I thought Nuclear actually looked pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, the team wasn't performing so well, but I do remember watching a couple of those games, and I was actually pretty impressed with him. Now, mind you, it was just a couple of games, right? But, um, anyways, I think this is a guy that's actually able to hold his own in the league, and so just because he was on a poor performing team does not mean this is a bad player. And I still think that you could see a lot more of Nuclear Int. So yeah, I think that's a good sign. Limit, I don't really have any opinions on.
I've always thought that the Schalke bot lane has always been pretty good. Like with Neon, I talked about a little bit earlier how he's going to Misfits. Like I think Neon's a solid player, and I also think Limit is a pretty good player. His best champion in my mind that sticks out is his Alistar. I just remember seeing whenever I'd be watching Schalke, he'd be playing Alistar or Rel or something like that. So he's one of those fatty
Heavy
engaged
engaged
supports.
Yeah.
Just fucking engage on him.
Going in, lol. The J&T special.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Well, I think last up, but most important, obviously, is the Vitality Super Team.
Yes, this stuff is breaking recently. Was this all this morning?
I think it was like kind of last night and this morning, sort of.
I mean, yeah, there was some stuff that was PERKZ and Alfari might be going to Vitality. I think we heard that a little while ago, but this morning there was like they've agreed to terms, is what they were saying. Now, obviously, again, I'm going to remind everyone nothing's complete until November like 15th or 16th or something like that. But they've agreed to terms, is I believe the wording that people are using. So it looks like PERKZ and Alfari are definitely out of North America. Not a really big surprise. People, I think, mostly saw that coming. Well, actually, maybe not, JT, because at the end of our last episode, I did ask you.
Well, that was
We should have gone into that. This is my mistake. Last episode, I remember thinking Worlds isn't over yet, and so we'll wait for Worlds to be over to get into the off-season rumor stuff, because those won't go too crazy before the Worlds end. Look, guys, I'm a little naive, okay? We're still learning this, I guess. Lesson learned: as soon as North America and Europe are out, off season begins. So I wish we would have gotten more into it last week. Why did you think PERKZ was sticking around?
Well, I don't know. Because I mean, at the time when you asked this question, it has been known for quite a while that he was available on the buyout market. But when we did last episode, that wasn't known. And one thing that I've always thought in terms of teams who bring in big name free agents or teams that have built sort of a quote unquote super team is it feels like specifically in North America, teams are just so willing to blow it up after a failure. And I think we've really seen from a lot of the Eastern teams, whether it's in the LPL or whether it's in the LCK, we see these teams who are supposed to be so good and they don't make Worlds, or they don't perform well at Worlds, or they don't even make playoffs or anything like that. Like, we do see these Eastern teams kind of usually stick it out for about 2 years before they blow a whole roster up, where it does feel like an NA, rosters pretty much have a 1 year lifespan. Like the last roster that I think was a solid roster that stuck around was the TSM 2016-2017 roster. Like that was the only roster.
That was only 2 years as
Yeah, and
well.
and then Doublelift like retired for half a split, and like that was 2 years. But like you think of like Team Liquid, obviously a very great team who's been making worlds consistently for the last 4 years. Season 8, they made big changes when they got CoreJJ, and then they got rid of CoreJJ, got Brox, and they got rid of Brox, got Santorin, and they got Tactical. Like it just feels
Yeah.
like in NA, like if you fail within a year, it's done. Start over. And
So
I've always like preferred for people to wait around and like to just go for it one extra year. Like why not? It feels like your team chemistry might get better. Like I don't know, it just feels like NA gives up easy. That's all.
maybe, but I definitely have to give a pass for this year because not only did you quote unquote fail, but you spent a lot of freaking money failing. Like Sword Art, like there's no way you're keeping the team together after you spent $3 million
Okay, Sword Art
in
was
a
like
year on.
bad.
Well, and PERKZ, I would say, was not worth whatever he was getting paid. Jacob Wolf was saying somewhere just under 3 million, a little bit less um, than Sword Art. And I don't think he
Mhm.
was let's say it was 2.5 million. We don't know that that's the number. Let's say it was around there. I don't think he was worth $2.5 million per year. So and then Alfari got benched. There was some issues that we don't know if we're ever going to know exactly what happened, but
Yeah.
obviously he was getting paid as well. So there's like good reasons to break up these lineups that didn't really go very far at Worlds, didn't look that great the whole time, and cost a lot of freaking money. So this year, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get why. Um, but it looks like PERKZ and Alfari are going to go together to Vitality, and well, that's got to be a good team. I actually believe so. I've been very critical of PERKZ, and I don't think I've been unfair. But I do want to be more fair to him by saying, like, I do think it could be a hindrance on your level of play being in a different environment. I think most people would agree with that. And I guess there was word that came out that he wanted to be closer to family and whatnot. And that can be something that really weighs on your motivation to play the game. It's just your overall level of happiness and how much you feel at home. Not to mention these guys came over during a pandemic. That could make it worse as well. So I actually believe that PERKZ will have a better year being back in Europe, where obviously the paying and practice and all that stuff is better, but also he can be around family as well. I feel like that has to help.
Yeah. So for those
Same thing
living
goes for Alfari as well.
yeah. Well, I was just gonna
Yeah.
say for those living under a rock, the Vitality lineup is rumored to be Alfari, Selfmade, PERKZ, Karzi, and Labrov. So Vitality really only retaining Labrov and Selfmade from their previous roster, which included like I felt like 3 different top laners or something. Later was their mid laner, and it was like Crown Shot, and then somebody else was their ADC. I don't know. Vitality was constantly basically subbing in and out players to kind of like throw shit at the wall to see what sticks or whatever the saying is. But
Yeah.
it does seem like this super team is going to happen. I think the only other thing about it is they haven't sort of agreed to terms with Karzi yet.
Right. Yeah.
But that's their priority.
Yeah, that was something that Wulu tweeted out. At first, he tweeted out like, uh, if an agreement is found, Karzi will play alongside support Labrov. Both players were teammates in 2019, I guess. But
Oh, they
then he
were?
later tweeted, yeah, I guess they were teammates together. Then he later tweeted on, oh, okay, I fucked up the phrasing on that one. Sorry, I swear I read it twice. But yes, to clarify, PERKZ wants Karzi. Karzi is also Vitality's priority, but Vitality and Karzi have yet to find an agreement in the coming days. So it looks like they're probably still working on an agreement, but there is not one yet. So that's where we're at with that.
Oh yeah, I did say that they played for put together.
Yeah. And another thing that he tweeted out, which I thought was interesting, is that he also said, "This is LEC Wulu, by the way. This is that sheep guy that that leaks stuff.
That sheep
Um,
guy.
the sheep guy." uh, anyways, he said, "I see a lot of people say that Fnatic, Alfari plus PERKZ couldn't happen for money reasons, or that was just speculation. But no, Fnatic really tried to get them. So maybe Fnatic is not all that cool with keeping Adam. Maybe they're still looking for other options, and obviously with Niski as well. If they're looking at PERKZ Alfari, clearly they're looking for better options. That might not mean that they want to get rid of um, of either one of them, but it's like C9. It's like they were happy with Niski, but if you could get PERKZ, of course you're going to go for PERKZ.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of thing here. It's Niski versus PERKZ
Yeah,
again, maybe,
and it's
but it seems like they couldn't get it though.
yeah, like PERKZ and Alfari are kind of been viewed as like a pair. Like that was something that kind of came out really early on. Basically, 5 or 6 days ago, it was like PERKZ and Alfari want to play together. It kind of felt like they were the package deal. And like if you're Fnatic and you can get PERKZ, like I mean, I was just talking about like Adam is great and he's probably going to have a good future, but like you also get Alfari along with it, who's like
Yeah.
he was the best top in the league before he left. So
What a kick in the nuts if Fnatic actually got PERKZ and Niski got replaced again
yeah,
by PERKZ. That would actually be pretty damn funny. That would be hilarious. Anyways, I talked about this on Hotline League tonight, but I wanted your take, JNT. I will read to you what my take was for Hotline.
Okay.
I said with all three major imports, Alfari, Sword PERKZ, leaving the LCS after just 1 year, should we worry about the LCS teams being able to import that talent again? Since North America doesn't have a good history of developing that talent ourselves, and it also doesn't help that two of those three had major drop-offs in their gameplay, um, right? Because PERKZ was definitely worse in North America than he was Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Sword Art, obviously, as well, was definitely worse than he was in the LPL. And then the last thing I ended up was a follow up with saying, should North America even want imports, considering your return on investment can vary from Core JJ to Crown, right? There's a big disparity there of what you're
Oh
getting
my God.
with an import, right? Like there's a big disparity there. So I want your thoughts on all that, and if you need me to say any of that crap again, because that was a lot, let me know.
Well, it does feel like in terms of like I think NA importing when it originally like was first happening back in season 4, season 5, season 6, it was more of the EU, LCK and LPL players who are no longer at the top of their game in that region who could be top players in our region. And you saw a bunch of signings like the Svenskarens, the Loopers, I'm trying to think of like other LCK like people.
Someday came over.
Even Impact at the time, like he had missed out on Worlds 2 years in a row. Like it was kind of thought like if you were no longer at the top of your game in EU, LPL or LCK, coming over to NA was an option. Then sort of it developed in like season 8, season 9, season 10. It was like, if you're a top EU player, maybe you can go to NA and sort of dominate there and have a better shot at being the #1 seed in your region to make Worlds or whatever, something like that. And I think with the result of this, we might see less of that, hey, like we're going to be importing the top players currently at the top of their game, the Sword Arts, the PERKZ, and the Alfaris, and we might sort of revert more back to what we kind of saw before, which was the players kind of on the decline. I mean, we still kind of get that here and there, like when the one that sticks out is like when Immortals picked up Soaz, like he was clearly no longer a great player in Europe, but, he could be, a mid to like maybe third place top laner in NA. Obviously it didn't work out like that, but I think we might sort of see a bit of a step back in terms of how much money people are spending for these imports. Therefore, you're not going to be getting the best players available in their role, in their region. It might just be like the tier 2 ones or the tier 3 ones.
Yeah, which is kind of right? A couple of thoughts that I wasn't able to get out on Hotline League because obviously the calls aren't all that long. But one of the things that I was worried about was if I'm a European player, I'm trying to sign 1-year contracts so I don't get shipped off to North America. So that's
Yeah.
one. The other thing is like if you see, well, I might have mentioned this, but if you see PERKZ, I said struggle because I mean he was still a good mid laner in North America, but he wasn't PERKZ level, right? It wasn't what we come to expect. So like if PERKZ can, we'll say, fall off for lack of a better term, then like anyone can, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm
Crown.
worried about. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Like, who wants to go to North America if PERKZ and Alfari take their first opportunity to get the fuck out and they like, that's not a good sign, right? They're like, all right, I did my 1 year, I'm done, man. Get me out. I want to go back home. That cannot be a good sign for North America trying to import good players from Europe. It's just not.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like you also do have to wonder, like how big of a factor was that PERKZ and Alfari wanted to play together, and the only available option probably was going back to Europe.
Maybe
Because I mean,
we don't know, right?
like
That's a good point. We don't know.
I think in the eyes of like when we're talking about specifically Sorter, like he was one who definitely failed on the performance level. Like he never reached that level. He sort of like we saw flashes of it at points during the season, but was
Yeah.
never consistently there. Like, although we did at times see both PERKZ and Alfari, specifically in the spring split, just really dominate the league. Like, PERKZ was really turning it on basically week 8, week 9 spring playoffs, and
Yeah, I
Alfari
guess.
was the best top in the league. And I think
I would
people,
say Alfari dominated. I would not say PERKZ dominated, because if he dominated, he would have been on the All-Pro list, I think.
well, I said in week 8, 9 and the playoffs, but
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, sure.
No, but
Okay.
I think PERKZ and Alfari sort of fall more under the category of like, well, we want to play together and we want to build this super team, and doing it in North America is not an option. So like that could have been one of the reasons. Whereas you look at a player like Sorter, like that was definitely like big failure.
Yeah, yeah, and there's no way anyone's taking that contract.
Yeah. So I mean, where does that guy go actually? Like
I don't
back
know.
to
I was wondering the
LPL?
same thing,
Does
because
he
like
go
I
to
love
like?
Sorta,
Does he go to
right? Like he's
PCS?
maybe he
Yeah.
goes to like Brazil or something.
No, then he's like officially done if he goes to like
Well,
wildcard
I mean,
region. I feel
I
bad for
don't
him. I don't want,
know.
dude. I want him to go like PCS or something.
Well, sure. Yeah, I
Because
mean
like
that would
that's
be
still a
cool.
good region. Like
Yeah, yeah.
go
That
there.
that might be the good fit. That
Don't
might
go.
be the good fit.
Don't go to like
Maybe there's
Latin
an LPL
America.
team. There's 17 teams in the LPL, and he
Yeah,
still was a world's finalist. Maybe he just goes back to the LPL
maybe
and slots into a team. So that is
back to
possible. I hope
Suning,
for the best. Yeah, you gotta
or I
hope for the
guess
best for
they're a
Sword
new
Art.
team now. Oh, no Suning.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Are you gonna
Oh,
support whoever the new team is, or no? Just
I
because?
like SOFM, so I'm following SOFM wherever he is. That'll be my LPL team. Hopefully SOFM sticks in the LPL, but that's a discussion for another day. The other thing that I wanted your thoughts on is: are you confident in this whole like new North American development system? Like it hasn't been ongoing for a
XD.
while, so the thing is, only within like the last couple of years, maybe year, maybe even just year, I don't know, has like North America really started to be like, okay, we got to start developing some players. Do you have get a few more Dannies or not really?
I think
Because if we
so.
don't, if we can't get any more Dannies, or if we get very few Dannies, let's say, and we can't get any more PERKZ Alfari Sword Arts, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I guess one sort of goes hand in hand with the other. Like, if we can't get the big boys, then you're forced to go into that development route, and it's gonna have to turn into a priority. And I think it's whether or not the current teams at the moment are willing to stick their neck out and say, like, hey, we need to start doing this now. And the teams that have been doing it have been ones that have succeeded and have these young
Yeah.
players that are going into their starting roles of their team and playing very, very well. Like Blabber hit the scene, he was great. Danny hit the scene, he was great. Tactical hit the scene, he was great. 100 Thieves, like there's like really big talk about, specifically Tenacity and Kenvi are the two main players on 100 Thieves that are always talked about with making the LCS in the future. And, we see teams like TSM. Like, when was the last time TSM had like a young up and coming player that they developed themselves? I can't
Yeah.
think of one. So
Wait, TSM?
yeah.
Speaka.
Okay. That's actually true. Okay. Ah,
Sorry.
shit.
I was a little harsh on that one. I could have been like, oh, well, I think you might have forgot about Speak. No, you just Speaka, man.
Okay. Well, I
So,
guess
yeah,
I'll rephrase my point to other teams are doing it a lot more. TSM's done it once. But it's good
yeah,
to know that TSM is going that route, it seems, with that video they did put out.
I think so too. I think so too.
Like that's a good. Like, this is like while yes, TSM might struggle next year. Like this will be a good thing for TSM in the long run.
I'm hopeful for the NA development system now that we're putting more time and resources into
I
it.
just
It
think it'll
seems
take
like
some time.
so do I, but there's no proof that it will work, and so that's where I'm a little bit Monka-esque. But I guess I'm hopeful. We'll hope that we can find
Hopium's
some good
back.
players. Hopium on Krakow mode. Okay. All right. Is that everything for the rumor stuff?
I think so.
Dude, there's still so much uncertain too. Like next week is probably going to be more of this, or
Pretty
at
much,
least in
yeah.
2 weeks it will. Definitely in 2 weeks, because that's when the November 15th will happen. Dude, the off season is so good. It's actually so good. I love it. Can't get enough off season stuff. Let's talk world stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Worlds was freaking awesome this weekend.
Yep.
I think people are a little bit upset that the damn 1T1 series wasn't the finals. But dude, it was so good. It was so good. I'll let you start us off. Standout players, JNT?
I don't know. just banger series. Like I've been really impressed by the Damwon bot lane. Like they're looking much better. I know we talked about it in the group stage. That like this was a problem for them. Like at MSI 2021, and even at Worlds
We said
2020.
problem, and I'm pretty sure we even said like problem in quotation marks because like
Yeah,
they're
well,
not bad. It's just they're the weakest point on Damwon, which is an
yeah.
oxymoron because weak and Damwon do not go together.
Yeah, but I guess my point was that we saw at Worlds 2020, like they were the role players of the team. Like they were not
Yeah.
players who were doing any carrying or were having a large impact on the map. And it did feel like at Worlds so far and in this series, Ghost and Barrel were doing a lot.
Barrel's been a beast, and he's really struggled at MSI. That's for sure. Barrel was running it down at MSI. He has totally turned around. He's a monster now. It doesn't seem like they have a real weakness. They're actually so good.
They're
And
OP.
honestly, huge shout out to T1 because their season was bumpy, man. But they actually brought this series to 5 games. I thought that it would be a lot more one-sided than it was.
Me too.
Um,
Even though I
what a
predicted
freaking
3-2,
series.
like I didn't think it would be a close 3-2. Like this was a close 3-2.
Yeah, and there was okay, I have to say Faker did get hard gapped in game 4. That was the standout like damn game.
Yeah.
This was a series where I really wanted both teams to win, but I do admit that I wanted Damwon to win more because I still love Faker, but I don't have any problem with there being a new Faker. Like imagine if Showmaker does become the new Faker and we've got two guys that we could say are like this pinnacle of League of Legends. I think that's awesome. But I think most people are against that idea. I think most people are just sad that Faker didn't win and that he got kind of gapped in game 4 specifically. That was probably the biggest gap of the whole series, honestly.
Yeah, like even when I predicted 3-2, I was thinking in the Damwon wins, like it was kind of what game 4 was going to look like, where it was just like straight top to bot, like everyone was getting outclassed.
Yeah. You know what I noticed about Showmaker is that he always makes his TP advantages count. That was something I picked up over the
Hmm.
last couple of series. So obviously he's very good in lane and he gets advantages and he forces the other mid laner to use TP a lot because he's just winning trades. That's what good mid laners do. But not only does he do that and he's able to save his TP, but they always make that TP count and punish another lane. And so you've got Showmaker winning 2 lanes for you. It's insane. I'm Showmaker and Canyon, I should say, because Canyon does gank mid a lot as well, and they get a lot of successful ganks with that. And then they convert the mid lane advantage into other lanes. But it's amazing how these two guys just automatically win you 2 lanes, and then the bot lane, which is again supposed to be the weakness, quote unquote, is just solid.
Hmm.
They looked really good, and I mean, I guess T1 also looked good as well. They brought them to 5 games, but I think this was about as close as it can get to beating Damwon. I
Yeah.
think.
Pretty much exactly what you're outlining with the Showmaker TP usage and kind of pairing up with Canyon to just like, hey, we have TP advantage mid. Let's just go wreck another lane because we're already winning mid lane. It's pretty much exactly what BDD was doing in the previous
Yep.
quarterfinal series, against Cloud9. It was like literally exactly the same. Like Showmaker and Canyon were executing that game plan to perfection against Faker, and just like a much better team, obviously T1 than Cloud9, which makes it I think even more impressive.
Yep. I want to talk about Carrier. What did you think of the Zillion? I thought his
Yeah,
Zillion was
yeah,
fucking
the
awesome.
Zillion was great.
That was a lot of fun to see.
I like,
Definitely not as influential in the second game because in the first game that they pulled it out, it was against like heavy dive. What was it against? It was against Jarvan or something.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if I have that in my notes. It
Hmm.
was against heavy dive, and I know for sure it was against Syndra because I mean the Syndra R button is just really not as effective with the Zillion. But they didn't have that in the second game, so the Zillion wasn't as effective. But still a really fun pick and something we hadn't seen yet. And Carrier looked really good on it, and it was just absolute cancer for Damwon to deal with. So you could see that T1 prepped some really good things coming into the series, and they were able to take games because of that.
Yeah, I mean, we really saw like Jin have super high priority in this series. We saw like both supports, I think, had a really good series. I mean, yeah, one loss, but I thought both Beryl and Keria looked really good in their wins. I've been saying this, I feel like almost the entirety of the tournament. Rakan is, in my opinion, the best fucking support in the game, and Beryl was just like he played that so well in games 4 and game 5. Was really like kind of fucking with Keria for the majority of the game, but I think also Showmaker's Zoe, like he's just like, oh my god, hits every skill shot. I don't even know.
Yeah, some of those bubbles are actually really nasty,
Yeah.
but Yeah, we could
But
go on about
yeah,
Showmaker all freaking
when
day.
Carrier did pick the Zillion, it just wanted me. I wanted the T1 to win just even that much more because I wanted like T1 Zillion skin. Like I don't play Zillion or anything, but like I feel like it'd be a cool skin and I would want to have it.
That would be pretty sweet, actually. I think that would be pretty cool, especially if like, because that would have been the pick that really influenced the series, right?
Yeah.
If you pick up a win in that game,
Mm-hmm.
that is like this Zillion pick is the reason you won that series,
Yeah.
or I guess one of the reasons, I guess you could say. Um, I will say I do not think Kana had the greatest series,
No,
and
he was getting a bit shit on.
so I think it sucks anytime you see someone not deliver. But I think why this sucked so much more is because he struggled a lot in the regular season and he got shit on by fans a lot. Like, oh my god, the spam that I saw for Kana was nonstop all in spring and yeah, anyway, we saw it for a while. And then he was having a really good Worlds. Like he was actually looking so much better. I was like, wow, I don't know what got into this guy. He looks solid. And then he got kind of clapped in this series, and it's like, man, he had it all turned around. Everything was going his way. He started looking really solid. And yes, it is against what is probably the best team in the world, but it still sucks to see the other
Yeah,
team
but
pick on you so much. And he looked pretty lackluster.
yeah, I mean, it didn't even look that bad to begin with. Like his game one wasn't that horrible. I thought his Yasuo in game two was actually pretty good. He did a good job. Basically, it felt like T1. It took them a bit of time to figure out like the timing on like the Lee Sin and Yasuo engages because we saw them kind of fail a couple of those earlier on in that game too. But his Yasuo was doing a lot of work, later on in that game. But then game 3, 4, and 5 is when it really went all just
Yeah,
bad.
the Kennen picks weren't very good. I think that was game 3 and 5, and then it
Yeah.
was game 4 where he played the Jace. Now, as the Jace, he got all of his plates because Khan was TPing.
Mm.
Like he used his TP as Gragas, and he went and roamed mid. And anyways, Kana was able to get all of 5 plates top as Jace, and you want to see someone do something with that, and he wasn't really able to, unfortunately. Now, mind you, the other side of the map was getting shit on. Is I think it was his bot lane that was getting shit on, or maybe it was
Mm.
Faker. I don't remember. I just
They
remember other.
everywhere was getting shit on in that game.
Okay, well there you have it. I do remember thinking like, oh, it's Kana who's got the advantage, and he's got to hold off the rest of Damwon, and obviously he couldn't do that, so that feels a little bit bad. But yeah, even game 3 they won, and his Kennen still didn't really look all that great either. So,
Mm.
yeah, it was a little bit disappointing to see him struggle towards the end of the series, and of course everyone had to pick on him again. I was like, oh god, here we go again. All the Kana flames coming back.
Yeah, and I mean
He had good worlds. He didn't have a great series.
the other player that I think people were kind of picking on from the T1 side was Owner, and the jungle also really didn't have like that great of an end to the series. But I mean, I've talked about this for quite a while now. Like the way that Damwon just like utilizes vision in the early game to just permanently track the enemy jungler is like, first of all, it's insane, and second of all, it just makes it so difficult for the enemy jungler to do anything. And it feels like once you fall behind against Damwon, specifically Canyon Showmaker, it feels like those two are just following you wherever you go. Like if you're on your red side, like they're moving to that side of the river. If you're on your blue side, they're moving to that side, and they basically just prevent you from doing anything in the game. So I don't really like fault Owner as much as other people do because I think it's just Damwon is just that insane and just countering everything that you're trying to do. But I mean, he didn't play that well either. But
Well,
like,
you do also have to remind people that this is a very young roster as well, and I
yeah,
know that's like excuses, but I think it is valid when you're playing against the best team in the world and you're playing on the world stage, and they're all like 18 or 19 or whatever they are years
yeah,
old,
they
like
put
they're
up
all
some
really young.
graphic. They put up the graphic where it was like was it Worlds games or just international
Yeah,
games, and all the
I think it was. Yeah,
yeah,
I think it
like
was Worlds games. I don't
yeah,
know. Anyway,
and 3 of the T1 players were at 9 games because that's how many games that they had played at Worlds at the time. Carrier was like 18 because he had only played in the previous Worlds on DRX, and Faker was like outlasting. Like Faker had like way more,
170 or
yeah, than like
something.
everybody else in the whole game, and all the Damwon players had like I think 70 or 80 plus or something like
Yeah,
that. Maybe it wasn't that much, but
they had a lot more.
yeah, it
They
was
had a
like
lot more.
I don't remember it exactly, but I just remember Faker had a shit ton. The rest of the T1 players had like none, and Damwon was like combined like still beating them out despite Faker having so many Worlds games.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to judge nerves because you don't know how much plays are being affected or not being affected by nerves. But I can imagine that if I put my 18 or 19-year-old self on that world stage, and I
Yeah,
am
owner's 18.
sweating buckets. I am, yeah. So I am a little bit more empathetic, but they played a great series. Unfortunately, they played the best team in the world. So tough luck.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out Gumayusi. His Jin was Pog. That was a
Jin looks
freaking awesome
OP.
game. But that was also the game that he had Keria as the Zillion, and so when you're getting sped up and you're already Jin, who's already really fast, he's just
He was
zooming
just
around.
zooming around people. Like he would be like, it felt like 1,500 unit like range away. Like he would get sped up by the Zillion. He would Gale Force like auto Q and like he would just die.
Yeah, yeah. And the last thing for me that I wanted to shout out was the one play where Canyon was playing Talon. This was game 5 for that flank play. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where
Just
T1 kind of gets pushed off Baron, he uses his
oh
parkour
yeah
over the wall
yeah
and sits in the brush there.
yeah.
So I went back and rewatched this play a couple of times because I was like, how did he know that that wasn't warded? And the answer is he didn't. he didn't he didn't sweep as he's going over. It was all just instinct. I'm just gonna sit in this brush. Owner happens to walk by, he kills him, and then starts running for the hills,
Yeah.
right? He starts jumping over a bunch of walls and gets everyone to chase him. But that was so huge because yes, he ends up trading 1-for-1, but that just gave his team the soul. Like, I don't know what his instincts were that told him, let's go over here. This probably isn't warded. I don't know if he's just YOLOing or what the fuck that was, but
He's
that was
also
an
playing
amazing
Talon.
play. It was sure, but I mean, he clearly couldn't get away after, like, even once he was spotted, he couldn't get out. Or, I mean, actually, he probably could have gotten out, but he didn't. He
Yeah, he went
ran.
down instead of going up.
Yeah, that was weird, honestly. But the point is that he didn't know whether he was spotted or not. And if you're spotted, you're probably dead. Um, so that was I don't know, that was just a crazy play, and it ended up, to me, that was what won them the series because they got the Mountain Soul. I'm pretty sure the gold was even or approximately even,
It was
and
a
that just
close
swung
game.
it really. That really swung it in their favor, and I was like, what the hell? How did he decide that this was good? Like, it was good, but like, how did he know that? Like, we know that because we could see the vision.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a crazy play, and I was like, holy shit, this guy's got balls. That was insane.
Yeah, overall, really, really good series. People I don't think were expecting to see that kind of a series because people just viewed Damwon as this just like absolute monster that was going to just run through the whole bracket stage and maybe get challenged in the finals by one of the LPL teams. But no, T1 really made this a series. Super exciting series. And it's at least good. Like, I feel much better knowing that Faker didn't get like absolutely shit on. Sure, he got shit on in one game.
One game.
But like he didn't get like
Copium.
yeah, like he just didn't get shit on, so that felt good.
Yeah. And I think it was this series that he played the Lissandra and the LeBlanc.
He played like 2 games Lissandra, I think.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that was a really good game because he actually shut down Showmaker pretty hard there, which was like, wow, this just goes back to the good old game plan of let's get their best player on a champion that we can counter and shut them down, and he actually did that really well. I think that was game 2.
Yeah, he like
believe,
was
so.
he was just like going for Showmaker and Showmaker only in fights. There was like one of the fights around Dragon where like there's like a 4v4 brawl going on somewhere, and he has vision of Showmaker off to the side, and he sees Showmaker jumps in, and he just like flash W ults him instantly. Showmaker like W's back, and he's just running at him like he doesn't care.
Yeah, it's what you got to do, and he did that really well. So, by the way, there was some talk about Faker retiring. I don't think it's happening.
No, it's like
so I didn't think it was happening anyways. But also in the press conference, he said something about next year, and I was like, oh, okay, good.
Well, they just run back this roster. Like, honestly, I think it's like possible.
Yeah.
Like,
now, just because he said something about next year doesn't mean he's not like weighing his options. Like, it's still possible, but
he's got to
I don't
win
think
first.
it's likely. Yeah, I don't think it's
in the
likely.
script, dude.
And yeah, the team's it's a young team, so there's obviously room for growth. So, really happy with this series. This series was it the best series so far of the? It has to be the best series of the tournament. Yeah, it was great. It was really, really good.
Unless you're an Annie enthusiast.
Yeah. Okay. True.
And then we had another 5-game banger. Not as
clean this one.
Yeah. There seemed to be a lot of flame on Twitter about how like monkey this series was overall. I don't know if I thought it was
not that bad, man. It was still good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, part of it is like everyone has just really adopted the whole like LS and I will dominate mentality of like,
I agree.
if they draft bad, then the whole game is bad. And so like,
and then it's just a flame fest, and like, don't get me wrong, sometimes LS and Dom are funny, but then it's just all flame and it gets
Yeah.
it takes some of the energy out of me. I'm kind of done with that. I don't mind criticism, but when it's always flame and it just gets old to me, I think. And I thought this series was a good series. It was not as good as the damn one T1 series, but this was a good series.
Yeah. It was good. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. I will admit that BDD did not look that great. He looked very good and very not good. You know what this series was out of BDD? It was like that one. It was like the C9 tiebreaker game where PERKZ is popping off and also running it down, but across a full series. That's
yeah.
what this was with BDD, and it made me realize that maybe in order for GenG to win, you need the BDD that we've seen for the whole tournament, where he's just 1v9ing the whole time. Because there were some running it down plays that we saw at a BDD, and I say this all the time. I'm a huge BDD fan, but I have to admit he didn't play that well in comparison to the rest of the tournament. He did still have some great performances, but it also got caught a lot. So you take the good with the bad, and unfortunately, I don't think GenG can win a series when he's not 1v9ing.
Yeah, I think the main standout guy on Gen G for me, at least this series, was Clid. That guy was smurfing it pretty hard, and
His Lee Sin was insane. I didn't
yeah,
like towards the end of the series. I didn't really like I didn't like the Viego. I
yeah,
didn't like the Xin Zhao. So I actually didn't think that his later games were good. At the start of the series, he was pog, man. His Lee Sin is insane, and then they started banning it though.
yeah. He's pretty much exclusively been playing Lee Sin and Zhao. I think like Lee Sin and Zhao make up like basically all of his games except for two, where he played like one Talon game and one Trundle game or something like that. But he's pretty much been only playing Lee Sin and Zhao, so it wasn't really a surprise to me to like they had such a high prio on Lee Sin. But I didn't think he would pop off as hard as he did because games 1 through 3, his Lee Sin was popping the hell off.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, his Lee Sin was really nice. He had a lot of nice insect plays, and he
Mhm.
was finding picks all over the place. Another guy to shout out is Mako. His Nami is great. Mind you, they played a shit ton of Nami Lucian. Is that what they played the whole series or no?
Oh, was it every game? I don't think it was.
I think like games 1 through 3 at least.
Yeah, they
I have it
had they
written
had the
on here.
Jinx game in game 2,
Oh yes, they did.
but
Anyways, his Nami was great. Dude, his Nami bubbles were insane. They were always so good for Peel. Like it really allowed Viper to stand out and absolutely pop off and kind of just shit on Ruler.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, his Nami was great, and Ruler's Lucian was great a bunch in this series. And
yeah. I
it
mean,
wasn't until later on, I
regardless
guess, that they couldn't play that.
regardless of what Viper and Mako were playing, like I think I've always thought that they have been the best like laners in bottom for the majority of the tournament. Like their laning is really clean. They're aggressive in their laning. They
Yeah.
don't really make a whole lot of mistakes. And you put them on a pair like Lucian Nami, who just like you saw it in like the first 2 games. Like he was just dashing in and just one-shotting Ruler level 3 with the Lucian
I
Nami
was
combo.
surprised that they got the Lucian Nami in so many games, though. That's what I
Yeah.
couldn't believe, especially after they hard clapped. Now, you could tell that GenG was like, look, we just messed up game one. Like, we could run it back. And then when they did, they ran back the MF Lulu into it. They actually did fine in the second time around, or maybe the third. I don't remember. The second time that they had that matchup, I think it was,
It was game
they
3.
actually did look a lot better.
Hmm.
But I mean, the Nami Lucian was still kind of insane. Like, it's still really good. And yeah.
Yeah, game 1 was really interesting with the Seraphine mid lane. Like I thought BDD was playing really well on it. It was just like Genji kind of fumbled their late game team fights in that game because it felt like they had that like when I was watching the game, like it felt like they were just gonna win that game. Like there was just a point where like Genji was winning fight after fight after fight, like 3 fights in a row where they won, and then
Their
Rascal.
team fighting looked really good this series.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'll give to GenG. So one of the fears that we had for GenG is that they play really slow and like, well, what if the other teams are more proactive and make things happen first? That is what happened in this series, and I think they ultimately got punished for it. But in the games that GenG did win, it didn't matter that much because their team fighting was really good. And game
Hmm.
one specifically, they were kind of getting clapped early, but they kept finding these team fights. BDD with that flash Seraphine ulti onto the Lucian was kind of
Hmm.
clean. That was like max range, like whoa, like you almost missed that, but that was so clutch. That was a really nice play. He did miss some multis too, though. For being fair, he did miss some. Like I said, I mentioned this at the start of our little segment here that like he was very hit or miss, literally. Um, so yeah, but I thought that it was an interesting pick because normally you see BDD just style with these Syndras, Azirs, and Zoes, and I believe one of those was still up in game one, but they went with the Seraphine instead. I think Zoe was still up, and they were like, let's go Seraphine.
Yeah, it was an interesting draft. I liked it.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess a lot of people would jump to the fact like, oh, BDD's not on a carry, but like GenG still got good. Like, dude, when Clid playing like he was, and we all know Ruler's great, so I
Hmm.
liked it.
Yeah. GenG played a shit ton of Jarvan.
I like it.
That guy's Jarvan is not only good for engaging, he can peel really, really well with it too, was
Yeah,
something I
his
noticed as
his
well.
team fighting this whole series on Jarvan was insane because I think a lot of the
Yeah.
a lot of what we've seen at Worlds is Jarvan. Everyone's just like viewing it as a super early game champion. If you don't get ahead in the early game, you're useless. But even in the games like in games 1, 2, and 3, where we saw JJ like fall behind, where he got like solo killed in game 1, like by Clid in the jungle, like he was still providing so much in team fights in terms of his peel. He hit like so many EQ flashes
Yeah.
like that, though, like there was just plenty of them that were super disgusting. He was going to stopwatch tech. I like it.
Well, and I mentioned how Mako was peeling really nicely with the Nami. You had great peel out of Nami and Lucian, and that's why Viper is just popping off in all of these fights. I
Mm.
was really, really impressed with their team fighting as well. Now, mind you, I said the same thing about GenG, and that's where I think the strength was in this series, was both teams had really nice team fighting. And so when I hear that this series was kind of messy, I just don't agree. Yes, there's some messy plays. That happens in every series. That doesn't mean the series itself is messy. I thought that it was a great series. I really enjoyed it. I'm sad that the GenG run is over, but I'm happy with their performance, and I'm also happy that we're going to get a finals that's 2 different regions. That's a plus as well.
Well, that's how it's been for quite a while.
Yeah, but I mean, it could have been
I
LCK
guess
versus LCK.
that would have been probably fucked the viewership. Honestly, that might have
Yeah,
been
I think
like
it would have. Yeah, I think
yeah.
so too. And I would have been sad because, like I said, I mentioned earlier, like I want to see another faker, quote unquote. Like I want to see Showmaker become that guy. I think that'd be sweet. And
He's got to win
well,
two
I don't
more.
want to cheer, but I didn't want to cheer against BDD,
Mhm.
so I was like, oh no, like I guess it's not the worst thing that GenG lost, so I'm not. There's no friction there. What else? What else? Anything else, JT?
No, I just thought like this series, what made it really interesting because we're seeing a lot of games be super one sided, and I think that's normally because one jungler just ends up shitting on the other jungler. And I think in this
Yeah.
series, we had two junglers who were playing really, really well and team fighting really, really well for their teams, keeping them in it like all the time. Like it didn't feel like, other than, what was it, like game 4, I think, where like games 4 and 5 were like kind of the only really one-sided games in this series.
Yeah, game 5 sucked. That was going to be my last point.
Yeah, game 5
Game
did
5
suck.
wasn't close. Game
Yeah,
5 was not close. If that's
like
why
both
people are
both
saying the
teams were
series is
in the
messy,
games. Like,
yeah. If that's why people are saying the series was messy because game 5, I'd be like, okay, like game 5 was actually not really clean. But the rest of the series was pretty good.
yeah,
The one thing that I noticed with game 5, this will be my last point on this series, is um they had GenG had the Wombo comp where you have the Rakan, the Oriana, and the I'm missing one.
I hated that Oriana pick. I was even like, we were like watching the game and the draft was going
Who's
on,
that?
and I was like, somebody's gonna pick some dumbass Oriana, and it happened, and I was like, oh man, like
Oh, it was Misfortune. Yeah, but see, I didn't mind the Oriana. I actually think Life actually kind of underperformed on the Rakan. Even the one team fight, they are behind, so they're down like 5K or something like that. They're struggling. But Rakan has a great flank, and he could have easily got a 3-man ulti on the Rakan, but he only got the Jin, and Jin is a good target, don't get me
yeah,
wrong. But because he didn't get the Jarvan, JJ was able to peel for the Jin with his EQ,
mm-hmm.
and that stopped them from erasing the Jin. Whereas, like, if he just lands the 3-man ulti there, which I do believe he could have done, it's a clean wombo into Oriana ult and MF ulti. And they couldn't get the wombo the whole game. It felt like they never got that, and that's clearly what you draft for when you've got those 3 picks. It's so good, especially when you get that Rakan flank, and he had it. He had it, but he just missed the ulti onto the 2 guys, and it was really, really sad. I think that was their way back into the game. It was a missed opportunity by Life, and that kind of cost the series, unfortunately. Now,
Yeah.
I think Life still had a great tournament, just that game, poor execution on the one team fight. Rip.
Like he had to get the ADC no matter what, and he kind of
Yeah.
just he went for the guarantee, like I'm gonna ult and then flash W,
Yes.
as kind of like I'm gonna ult then flash and then group people up with the charm and then W. But like he was going for the like I don't fault him for that. Like he's going for the guarantee play on the ADC. But if he gets all three, like they probably win that fight.
Yeah, and they probably get right back in the game.
Yeah,
because you
because
probably pick up the
that's
dragon. You could probably run Baron or something.
yeah.
But
Better
ifs,
series than
ifs, yeah.
better series than most people would say, I think.
I think it was better than any of the series we saw in the quarterfinals. So
Probably, yeah.
yeah,
Unless you're an Annie fan, as I said.
yeah. I still thought this series was better than that. But hey, that's just me. Popoff Beansoup.
Well, I'm gonna go with the obvious pop off. This series were
Okay.
all great. We had 10 games. It was great.
Ah.
It wasn't the fucking quarterfinals where we saw 3-3-0s and I would say a messy 3-2 in EDG versus RNG. That's a series I would classify more as messy than this one, than the one we just talked
So
about.
your Popoff is just semifinal.
Yeah, it was epic.
Absolutely, it was. It was awesome. I didn't even think about that myself, but yes, I loved this weekend. I'm still hella hyped for finals.
And the
Uh,
results of it make the finals more interesting because, like we just said, it would kind of suck if it was LCK versus LCK in the final.
yeah, and it's coming off of two good series as well, going into the final. Like this is
Yeah.
good stuff. This is good. Yeah, I can't wait for finals. Me, I think I made it pretty clear how excited I was about the Talon play. Uh, that play was insane. I have to give that pop off because I had to watch it over and over again, being like, how did he know? Like he didn't sweep any of this. He was just like, ah, fuck it. I'm going into the jungle. I thought that play was crazy. Maybe it was even not the right play because it could have been warded, but I loved it, and so I'm giving pop off the canyon. Bean soup, JT.
I had to go with Rascal. I think
Mm,
there was kind of a toss up for me between Rascal and Kana because they both didn't
mm-hmm.
play very, very well. And to whatever degree, like, you talk about Rascal, like what influence he has in the draft, but like, man, nobody wants to see Renekton. Like, why is that happening?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not a big fan of the Renekton pick. I will say, so he was kind of getting shit on it in the one game, and then he
then he
turned it
solo
around
killed, yeah.
because, yeah, it's like, but he shouldn't have been face checked. So it's like, can I give him credit for Flandre just being like, oh, I'll just walk right up to this brush? It's like,
Yeah.
he shouldn't have had that opportunity. So it's like, okay, the Renekton got a solo kill, but he shouldn't have got a solo kill. So can I give him the credit for that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like the pick though.
I thought Rascal played really fucking bad in game 1. I thought like that was kind of one of the main reasons that like that game just kind of GenG just lost control of the game just cuz he was like having a really hard time dealing with the Jax like in team fights, not even in the side lane. Like it would be totally understandable if he was losing the split to Jax, but just in team fights like he was going in at incorrect times. Like he was kind of using his W like really early on in fights and not saving it for like important stuff. And I didn't think he played well in that game either.
My bean soup was GenG game 5. It was such a bad way to, like, don't get me wrong, I loved the series, but that was not the way I wanted it to end. I wanted it to be a lot closer, and I give them this credit for being a good team fighting team. They were not in that. They were not. They were not on the same page either, which is like not usually something you're expecting out of GenG. They were like the shockwave was already used, and Klid's still going in as Xinjiao with nothing left and it just didn't make sense to me. I couldn't believe how bad they played for game 5, and so that was pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
So yeah, bean soup for game 5, but I mean, it feels like something that's weird to be picky about because I still loved the series and the whole weekend was great. But for the sake of our awards, I found some, and I went with.
Mm-hmm.
But now we get finals, EDG, Damwon preview. Let's go. JNT, should we just start with predictions?
Sure.
I'm going 3-1 Damwon.
Dang.
What are you doing?
Well, I wanted to say 3-1, but I'm not going to
Say
be a
3-1.
copycat, so I'm going to say
Why not?
3-0 damn one.
I'll give myself a little bit of a bean soup award because
You've
lately
been
I've kind
saying
of
a
been
lot of
saying a lot of
3-1s. Yeah, you have
I
been.
know.
You said that about
I
me
know.
last year, and now I'm saying it about you this year.
Yeah, I deserve that. I'll admit I deserve that. But I mean, what can I say? I think it's going to be a 3-1. I think that EDG can pick up a game. I think their bot lane's still playing really, really well, so I can't just be like, that bot lane's going to get 3-0'd. I can't do that. And GenG looked, I mean, mind you, he played a shit ton of Jarvan only, but he still looked really good as well. And I mean, the whole team looked pretty good on the side of EDG. So I just don't think I can see this team getting 3-0'd. I mean, I guess it's possible. Damwon is looking really, really good. But yeah, my thoughts are if EDG is to win this series, it's got to be through the bot lane. I would have to imagine. I don't see mid
Yeah.
getting gapped. I don't see jungle getting gapped. I don't really see top getting gapped either. Honestly.
Yeah, unless like slips on the proverbial banana peel and like does some really troll shit, or like they stick him on some like terrible champion. Like I think Damwon really has the advantage in every single role except for bot lane. Um, I don't know. I just kind of went for the spicy 3-0 pick. Like
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like Canyon and Showmaker are just too good. I don't know. Like I'm
I
just
know it's sad
I'm
to be
waiting for the one game where it's like, oh my god, like Canyon and Showmaker just got shit on by that other mid jungle, but it just doesn't happen. Like
Yeah,
doesn't happen.
it sounds boring. Like it's sad to say, but like that's what it is though.
Like yeah.
There's nothing more to say. They're actually looking really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, guys. I got no hot takes on this one.
Yeah.
I think Damwon's gonna win it.
Yeah, I guess
But
like the only other way I would say is if like EDG go like really heavy topside focus, they try to get like Khan and Flandre into like a volatile matchup. Like if Khan picks the Lucian, like expect JJ to just like sit top and shut down the Lucian. But in terms of like jungle mid, like I don't really just know like what EDG can do unless like Scout is just somehow beating Showmaker in lane, or JJ just hella goes mid early on to just completely annihilate any chance of them getting mid control.
so we
But
did see Faker kind of shut down Showmaker the one game with the Lissandra into the LeBlanc. So maybe you try to get him onto the LeBlanc and you say, I'm not going to win lane, but I'm going to shut him down from having pressure later on. That's something we've seen actually work a lot in this tournament specifically.
yeah,
So there are ways. I just don't know if Damwon's going to necessarily fall into them.
yeah.
That's my problem there. But anyways, I think that our prop sheet's going to make this really fun.
Mm-hmm.
We're not at the prop sheet stuff yet, guys, but stick around because I think it's actually going to make the finals a lot more fun to watch. I think we did it better this time around.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else before we get into quick news?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I'm excited for finals. Should be fun. Let's do quick news. Go JNT.
Yeah, we got. I mean, all the quick news is like roster rumor stuff. That's what we would, but we did it at the top because that's what people care about. First up, this is a guy you were kind of been talking
I
about the last couple of
know I
weeks.
was wrong.
CLG hired a new general manager for their LCS team. His name is, I don't know what his in-name game is, but I think it's like Jonathan or something. Like that's what people call him.
Jonathan McDaniel is his name. He's Kamikaze Platypus.
From what I've heard about him,
He
mainly
was
people call him Jonathan. So
Yeah, yeah. He was the assistant GM for Golden Guardians. Now, to me, when I see CLG going after a guy like this, my thoughts are, okay, this guy's had a lot of success in putting together low budget teams. So maybe
low budget.
CLG for the first time says, hey, let's not spend a bunch of money on players that suck. Maybe.
Is Broxah
Maybe.
sticking around on that roster, or like what's going
I
on
don't know
there?
what's going on there.
I would
no
keep on
idea.
Broxah if he wants to play there.
I forgot all about Broxah. I love Broxah. Hopefully he sticks around in the LCS. So the reason why I said at the start of this little discussion that I was wrong is because this was my pick for the guy to be the next commissioner of the league. Still haven't heard anything about that. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I feel like knowing the LCS, it's gonna just be some like last minute announcement, like 2 days before the start of the season. It's like, oh, season starting soon. By the way, this is the new GM.
Well, I won't be surprised if they don't find one and Greeley sticks on as interim commission until they go a full year waiting for someone else. Or there's still the meme answer. We could still wait for Jat for commish. Hashtag Jat for commish.
He's trying to go fucking around the world with jobs within the LCS.
Yeah, any new job in the LCS, Jat's got to do it. He's got to try it. What's next on the quick news stuff?
This was kind of interesting that came out of left field, I would say. Apparently LCK teams are interested in adding a salary cap, and that T1 were the strongest opposing voice. However, basically within 24 hours, like it just kind of came out that like they actually haven't been discussing this. It's just something that the teams have sort of been pushing for, similar to this all like NAE imports like stuff. Like the teams are pushing for it, but the leagues aren't making any changes. So like, who fucking cares?
Yeah, my thoughts is I don't really know where to stand on this because I do think it's healthy for there to be some parity in the league, meaning that the richest teams can't always just buy the best players. Like that's why you put in a salary cap, so that a team like fucking FlyQuest has a chance of actually getting a good player every once in a while without going bankrupt. However, you're pissing off a lot of fans when you're putting T1 in this spot where they can only spend a certain amount of money. T1's probably the richest team in that league. I would have to guess.
Maybe.
They definitely have the most fans. They're the
Apparently,
most
Hanwha
popular
Life
team.
has a lot of money. That's something I've
I
heard.
see.
It's like they're a big
Anyways,
insurance company, so they have a lot of money.
so and you're also screwing over the players because I think we can all agree that players like Showmaker and Faker, who have been the best players in the world, they deserve to make freaking bank. And if you put a salary cap on them, they probably just go to fucking LPL. No?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on whether or not it's a hard cap or like a soft cap with a luxury tax. Because if it were to
Yeah.
just be a soft cap with a luxury tax, I don't think there would like be any difference. It would just only be if
Yeah.
it was a hard cap. For people that
The
don't
league
know,
would just make more money,
yeah,
right?
I mean, just to quickly summarize, for people that don't know
Mhm.
what a soft cap is like there's no actual cap on how much you can spend. However, if you do go over the like imaginary line, you have to pay extra money in fees
Yeah.
because of whatever. Like it's called the luxury tax in sports. And a hard cap is just you cannot go over this line. This is the amount of
Yeah.
money you're allowed to spend. You may not go over no matter what.
Yeah, so the soft cap would be like hypothetical. Let's say the soft cap is $1 million is what you could spend across all of your players for your team. You can pay 1.5 million, but you have to pay a certain charge to the league, and maybe that's how they become more profitable as a league, I guess. But anyways, I don't want to get too much more into this because, like you're saying, it doesn't sound like it's happening. But it was just
Is it
an
still
idea that was
happening in the
floated around.
LPL? Like there was like things talking about how they're gonna introduce a salary cap there. Like is that actually happening? Like I don't know.
I don't know whatever happened with that, honestly.
Yeah. All right. Next up, kind of back to a little bit of world stuff. Otawamne, I think like via Mr. Wooloo, Mr. Sheep, said that he was hospitalized during their Worlds 2021 preps, like their boot camp and preparation and whatnot, and was apparently on painkillers during the whole tournament.
This kind of goes back to what we talked about last week with Tian, where like
Yeah.
you could tell something was wrong. He did not have a good Worlds. Now, mind you, he was kind of sitting on the couch for a while, uh, not really playing League. I think he was coaching, right? But he did, and he also was on a new roster and in a new region and all that stuff. But I did not think Otawamne looked very good at all, and so I don't know. I guess I'm just saying it makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, it's obviously something you don't want as well. Whereas like we know he's trying to make a comeback. I believe he said he wants to play pro again, if I remember right.
I said okay. I didn't know where you're going with this, but I'm talking about Otawamne. I think you're talking about Bizichachi.
Oh, dude, I am confusing the two. You're right.
Otawamne Rogue, dude.
Yes. Yes. No, you're right. I actually confused the two. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, what can I say? They're not the same. I know who they are, but for some reason I read that and just thought immediately of Vizichachi.
Well, yeah, Otawamne
Whoops.
didn't look good either, to be honest. So
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't. And the thing is too with Otawamne, like the season started off so well. There was like the storyline with him, like he's never been to a finals
yeah,
before. Remember
yeah.
in spring
Oh
they were
god.
supposed to win too.
Oh man,
Oh,
poor guy.
yeah. Yeah, I know. Dude, that's actually so crazy how his whole season went. Like it actually started off really well. Rogue looked great. He was about to win his first thing. They had the great storyline around him too. With that, they came out with like some special video
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Oh, then it ends like this.
Mm,
Not like this, man. Not like this.
yeah. Next up, LWX said I think on his stream or something. I don't remember where it came from, but apparently the FPX roster has disbanded, quote unquote.
Yeah.
The roster disbanded, not the team, obviously. So either we're gonna see all of the FPX players on different teams, or maybe only one of them sticks around. Like, who knows? But FPX players are on the move, and so, I mean, I'm looking at guys like Crisp, Nuggery, and Doinby for sure. I think are the three out
Yeah.
of those. Maybe Tian, but we'll have to see kind of his health issues, how that
Right.
affects his future. But maybe Doinby and Nuggery come back to LCK.
You've got world champions.
Hanwha Life Nuggery. Hanwha Life Nuggery.
They could probably demand a pretty good price for their contract. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And then the last thing, Arcane.
No, there's one more thing.
Oh, you added another one? You
Yeah,
threw a curveball.
it was
thing
about
into-
the max contract length being increased from 3 to 4 years. Or
that did happen, yes.
yeah, that was like literally only a couple hours ago. I saw this.
Ah.
But yeah, it's the max contract length has been increased from 3 to 4 years for players either signing new contracts or signing contract extensions. And that's put into effect, right now for this free agency period. So
I wonder why that is though. Like what? Like, am I missing something? Did they say why they made that change?
I wonder, I actually wonder though, how many players have been on like, I need a percentage of like players that have been on the same team for 3 years. Like it's probably
Yeah.
so absurdly low.
Yeah, it does seem like those contracts end up getting traded, or they just like null the contract somehow, one way or
Yeah,
another.
it feels like it's 2 years maximum.
Also,
Or
for the players, like, what is the benefit unless you really feel like you're gonna fall off? You're like, man, I'm starting to suck. I better sign this 3-year thing. I don't know. Like, it never seems like there's actual benefit to the players because if they are bad, there's always some clause in the contract where their contract is just kaput. Like with Sword Art, like, he's not getting 3 million again next year.
maybe get a percentage of that, but yeah,
Maybe I don't know how it works,
I would
but
hope he does. If
well, I
not,
would think
bad
with a contract
negotiating.
that big, though, I feel like with a contract that big, it's like probably normal to have a clause that's like, look, if you suck, this is done, man.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Um.
okay, now the last thing, go.
Well, the arcane stuff. You seem so enthusiastic about it.
Well, I mean, are you not? I can't wait. I've been waiting for whenever the hell they first announced this thing. I've been fired up for it.
Yeah, it'll be good. I presume. I mean, the show is going to get released either right before, right after, or during Worlds. I also read on the League Reddit that they're gonna premiere the first 3 episodes on their Twitch stream, and that you can get like bonus rewards. So that's kind of why I'm assuming that the finals are gonna happen, and then they're just gonna release it right then and there. I don't know
And we've been
exactly.
invited to co-stream it. That's a lie, but that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I actually like for a second was like believing it, like, oh, maybe we can just like watch it. Like I was like, dude, I would have gone to like somebody's stream, like watch Sneaky stream while they like watch it or something. You baited
Well,
me.
I don't
How
know. I
dare
don't
you?
know how it's working. There's some sort of. I honestly don't know. I know that it's released. I actually have no idea. I thought there was something that you could actually co-stream it with actual people, not
I don't know.
like Sneaky or something.
I'm
I
not
don't know
sure.
either. Guys, check Reddit for that one. We don't know, but it's gonna be freaking awesome, and maybe we'll talk about it on our next episode.
Yeah, I figured
Maybe.
we're probably gonna have at least 2 more episodes for all the free
Yeah.
agency stuff. From what we remember of last year, we did 3 episodes after 3 episodes, including the world's final episode, before we went on our hiatus because there was obviously a bunch of free agency stuff going on then. So I assume that's probably safe to say that at the very minimum, we got 3 more to go.
Yeah. It'll depend on how much roster moves there are, right?
We
If
said
there's
that
nothing to
last year,
talk
but
about.
it kind of kept going for 3 weeks, basically.
Yeah, I mean, because things were still happening. If there's nothing to talk about, we're not going to waste everyone's time with that. So, I mean, we'll figure it out as we go. But for now, it looks like we got a couple at least, and that's pretty sweet. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're enjoying this. Let's talk about the prop sheet before we close out the
Oh,
show,
yes, yes.
guys. We're doing another prop sheet. We did one back in spring, and I think the problem back in spring was that the way we had it set up was you guys couldn't check the answers that you submitted. We
Mm-hmm.
kind of made a whoopsie there. But now when you submit it, we have it so that it sends you the picks that you made through email, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna leave you. So it's one entry per person. Obviously, so like when you click on the link, you can't sign up for more than one. And we're gonna leave it open till Friday, so you can edit your picks until Friday around 10 p.m. I think we're gonna close it.
Yeah.
Don't count on that though, guys. Just make sure you get your picks in. There's a lot of fun props on here, guys. Like I think we put a lot of time into thinking of some funny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like which player is gonna touch the trophy first? We got on there. Will a player cry on stage? That's a little less funny, but it's still kind of interesting to be
Yeah.
like, oh
I
my
mean,
god, he's crying.
someone usually is crying when they either you win
uh,
or lose.
And then obviously some gameplay stuff like who's going to average most kills. Will a non-jungler run Predator? Will Khan play Lucian? Some stuff like that. It's about 20 to 20. What is it? 26 questions
It's like
actually?
26, 27.
Somewhere around there. And then a tiebreaker question. And we're giving away money. So the winner gets 75 bucks either in RP or Amazon, whatever, Amazon gift card or whatever. We'll find a way to get you 75 bucks. And then second place gets 25. It's free to enter, guys. All you have to do is follow us on Twitch. That is it. And we'll reach out to you through Twitch, most likely. I think that's what we did last time.
Yep.
So just we need to check. So if you win, we're gonna go into our Twitch followers and we're gonna see your name. And that's how we're gonna reach out to you.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you're following because we can't reach out to you if that doesn't happen, and that's a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's gonna make Worlds a lot more fun. Like Worlds is already fun, but if it's exciting when a player gets executed, I think that'll make it more fun. So I think it'll be really good, and we hope you guys enjoy it. We used all of where the money is coming from. It's coming from our subs that we got throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
I guess throughout the whole year we got about $100 in subs. So we said, well, what the hell? Why don't we throw it into to you guys? So I hope you guys enjoy it. We'll leave a link in the Discord as well.
Yeah,
I'll
Discord,
I'll I'll,
this
I'll
video.
tweet out. I'll tweet out as well. We'll leave it in the what were you saying? The YouTube thing?
Yeah, it'll be in the YouTube description.
The description. Yes, the description. We will leave it in there for you guys to have a look at it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So please fill those out, guys. You got till probably around Friday, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything you want to add about the prop sheet, JNT?
Well, I was just gonna say for anybody like lurking, I guess I could just post it in here right now.
Oh, true. Do that. Go follow. Well, hit the follow button if you haven't, and then go fill it out right now.
For any lurkers, there you go.
And if you have any questions about it, you can hop in our Discord. Our Discord is in the description all the time.
Yeah.
In the YouTube videos as well, right? And it's in Twitch.
Yeah, or
description
just
as well.
like I don't know, message us on
find our
Twitter or
Discord.
something.
Yeah, hit me. You could DM. You could ask in the general chat in Discord, wherever you can find us. No problem. Just ask any questions. And there is some instructions at the top as well. So make sure you read like the small little paragraph of instructions.
Mhm.
And we hope you guys enjoy it. So we put some time into it. Hope you guys enjoy that. Last thing before we close out the show is I've been meaning for a long time to ask you guys if you have any feedback for us. Um, it's been a long time since we've gotten feedback from people, and it's probably because we haven't asked for feedback. This is our first full year, like doing spring and summer of doing this podcast. Clearly, we've had a lot of you guys stick around, but we want to know how to get more of you guys to stick around. So if you guys have anything that you think we need to be better at, another thing you can reach out to us for. I don't think we're going to be too upset as long as you're honest and respectful. If there's something that we suck at, we need to know to be in order to fix that. So yeah, give us some feedback if you guys have it. We appreciate you guys. We love you. JNT, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, this was fun. I like these off-season rumor episodes. The world stuff is great. We're probably gonna go live next Monday? Question mark.
I think so. Yeah. Take
Probably
a little.
same thing after Hotline, right? Because
Yeah. Let
Travis
Worlds
lets us know a bunch of
digest.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Digest
Travis
Worlds.
knows a bunch of shit that we don't know.
Watch Arcane. That'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll do a
true.
little Arcane thingy.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, I'm done rambling. Thank you guys. This has been episode 64 of the Clown Fiesta podcast. We will see you next.
Bye bye.